In this video, we're going to talk about communicating within Canvas. And the reason that I decided to do this video before the content video is because this is something we can start doing now with our students before the need to move online potentially happens, to kind of anchor them in Canvas, get them used to communicating with us in Canvas, making Canvas feel like our home base online for our course, our kind of online classroom. And so this is something you can start doing now. And before I start showing you the different methods like announcements, discussions, the inbox, Zoom, all of these choices we have, because there are a lot of choices, I just want to point out that intentionality is key here. So what we want to do when we're thinking about communicating with our students from Canvas is pick a method and stick with it. So there isn't really necessarily a best way, but we definitely want to pick one, because what can happen when we suddenly move online or someone starts teaching online is they start kind of using all these different ways. They kind of just start throwing a whole bunch of stuff at students and thinking something will stick, right? I'm sending an announcement, I'm putting it in the inbox, I'm putting it in a discussion, I'm adding a page in my module, all of these things. And from the student perspective, we want to think about what that's like. It feels like kind of like an avalanche of information that becomes really difficult to sort through, especially when we consider that the student might have 4 or 5 instructors kind of doing the same thing. So when we talk about communicating, again, just pick a method and stick with it. So a lot of people use announcements. This is a great feature in Canvas, and it is what it sounds like. It kind of posts some timely information to students. And so this is something you could do now, maybe, when you have an assignment coming up and you want to remind students to submit it, or let's say something really relevant happened in the news to your discipline and you want to share that with students, ask them to read it and think about it before your next class session. Or you have a change, maybe, you use some kind of publisher product like a MyLab or something, and it's having technical issues and you want to let your students know. This is a great way to communicate that kind of information, as well as maybe like a weekly, like maybe at the same time each week on Monday morning, you greet students, you tell them what we're doing this week, that sort of thing. And it's really very simple and straightforward. So all you have to do to create a new announcement is just click this Add Announcement button, and you get that same text box that we're used to using in Canvas. There's a couple things to note here. You can schedule this, so you could theoretically write this on Friday afternoon and schedule it to go out on Monday morning. And something else to point out is that students don't automatically have the permission to reply to this announcement. So when we post an announcement, you'll see that you have a reply button, but let's go in Student View. Students do not automatically have a reply button. If you want them to, you need to tell Canvas that. And so by default, it's not there. And this announcement feature could be a great thing, like if you do that weekly announcement during some period of remote learning, you might ask students as a part of your announcement to check in. But if they can't reply here, that's going to cause a problem. So let's see how to set that up. You'd simply go to Settings, and then you're going to see this Course Details tab. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you see more options. And you see that Disable Comments on Announcements is automatically the default. So you want to uncheck that. Update Course Details. Now when I go in and post an announcement, you'll see I have this option, Allow Users to Comment. So you might, like I said, if you want students to ask questions about what's happening this week, or check in, you just want to make sure that you're setting that up for them to be able to do that. Okay, and one more note about announcements, and actually all communication methods within Canvas. Sometimes we think, well, I sent it out an announcement, students got it in their email, they should know this. Why am I getting emails about this? Students aren't automatically going to get any form of communication from Canvas in their email or as a push notification or anything like that. Students have the ability to set those notification preferences for themselves. So if you go to Account, you'll see there's an option here called Notifications. And this is where I and you and all your students get to tell Canvas how, when, and if we want to be notified. So you'll see here is the notification setting for announcements. And I have these set to notify me immediately via email, as well as via a push notification from the Canvas app on my phone. So if I'm taking a course and someone posts an announcement, I'm going to get notified immediately. But I can turn those off, right? I might not get notified at all. I might, if your students have set this up this way for themselves, they would have to log into your course and go to announcements to see that there's a new announcement. So this is something that you can tell your students. I'm going to be communicating via announcements, so it's really important that you set your Canvas notifications to be notified about those so you can stay up to date with all the important information in my course. And it's the same with the inbox. So this is called Canvas Conversations, this inbox, and you can see there's one here, Conversation Message. This is to be notified for a new message in your inbox. It's not automatically going to go to students' email or their app on the device unless they have it set that way. They can also get a summary daily or weekly. So just make sure that they're doing that at least for your course. So they can also set these notification preferences up for your course alone by clicking this View Course Notifications button on your course homepage. And we can also set up our course to display new announcements on our course homepage, and you can find that by going to Settings and then Course Details, and in that same spot under More Options, you can display however many of the most recent announcements you want on the course homepage. So if you're mainly right now using Canvas to send these announcements, you could set it to display like 5 announcements. Let's go ahead and look at what that looks like on the course homepage. So whatever you just use for your course homepage, I have it set to syllabus right now. I'm not going to keep it that way. I'll show you in the content video how to update that. But it kind of just puts this section up here, recent announcements, so that students who aren't necessarily receiving those notifications can come here just to your course and see that there's a new announcements instead of having to go to announcements to see that, if you want to make sure students are seeing those. And of course, there is the Canvas inbox. This does allow you to send messages to people in your course, all of the people in your course or individuals in your course. And this works very self-explanatory. It's just like having an email inbox from within Canvas, but it does take students outside of the course. So if you're constantly communicating this way, it's not necessarily anchoring students to your actual course in Canvas, if that makes sense, but it is a good way if you want to have a conversation with an individual student that you don't want to put in an announcement or a Q&A discussion board or something like that. Looking at discussions, I think a great way to get started with communicating in your courses is to set up right from the start of the semester a Q&A discussion board. And so you just click New Discussion. You can give it a name like Course Q&A, and then this is going to create a lot of efficiency for you in addition to anchoring students to the course in Canvas and getting them used to communicating with you in here. And because what you can do is you can link the syllabus, so you direct students at the beginning of the semester, all course-related questions should go to this discussion board in our Canvas course. And so I'm going to put this note here before posting, please check the syllabus. And what I'm going to do here is link my syllabus right here in my discussion board. So before they're sitting down to write that email, they have a link straight to the syllabus so they can check it. It might prevent some of those questions. And also what this does is it creates efficiency by eliminating answering that same question 10 times via email to individual students. So when one student asks you that question, you answer it here. Another student comes here to ask that question, they can actually read and see, oh, that question is already asked and answered. I don't need to ask that question. So you can see I also put here that only questions of a personal nature should be sent to my email. So you want to make sure that's clear to students. You don't want them putting questions in here about, say, their COVID status or something that's personal. And then I'm just going to go ahead, and I always like to allow threaded replies because that makes it more clear who's replying to whom within the discussion board. And we're not going to make this a graded discussion or anything, and I'm just going to save and publish. And you just want to make sure that you're subscribed to it because this is the kind of notification you want to make sure you're getting so that you can answer students in a timely manner. And another way this can create some efficiency and build some community in your course here in Canvas is students start answering each other. So if one student knows the answer to the question, they might hop in here and answer it before you do. And finally, let's talk about Zoom. If you are going to use Zoom with your students, I 100% recommend doing it from right here in Canvas rather than setting it up and emailing a link or something like that. Most students are used to coming to Canvas to access their course-related Zoom sessions. So to get this set up in your course, you're just going to go to Settings, and then you're going to go to Navigation, and you're going to look for Zoom all the way at the bottom, and then you're going to click and drag it to the top. And if you expect students to need to use it a lot, you might put it way up near the top so that students can find it easily. So then once you go to Zoom, you can schedule your sessions from right here in Canvas. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this because we all pretty much know how to use Zoom by now. If you don't, there's lots of resources and support available to you from your ITC or from StudentEngagement. But you can, the recommendation I'm going to make for preparing now is to do your office hours in Zoom. And so this is another way that we can ease that transition to the remote learning scenario is by already doing this. Like we're already in here. We already have Zoom in our course. We already have office hours scheduled here. Students already come here to join those sessions, right? So that if we do need to make that pivot, it's already familiar. It's already a process that is established and everyone knows how to do it in your course. So the one recommendation I'll make when you schedule your office hours is to make sure you name it office hours here. So I'm going to go ahead and call this, I'm going to put office hours front and center instead of just having the name of my course, because then it'll be clear to students when they come here that this is not necessarily a required session that they come to. Students typically know what office hours are. You probably explain, on the first day of class and put it in your syllabus. They know that this is going to put it in their calendar when you schedule in Zoom. You may not want students, if you don't change the name, you might get students popping in because they think it's a required session in their course. So go ahead and make sure that's super clear there in the topic. And then also for office hours, I would recommend a waiting room just because, you might be having a conversation with one student and you don't want another one popping in. So that's a good feature to use for the office hours. And of course, you can make it recurring so that students can see a list of all the upcoming office hours. And now let's take a look at this from the student perspective. When they go to Zoom in your course, they can easily see that there are all these office hours that they can come to at the relevant time to join.